And Eve said to Adam, Live thou, my Lord, to thee life is granted, since thou hast committed neither the first nor the second error. But I have erred and been led astray, for I have not kept the commandment of God. And now banish me from the light of thy life, and I will go to the sun setting, and there will I be until I die. And she began to walk towards the western parts, and to mourn and to weep bitterly, and groan aloud. And she made there a booth, while she had in her womb offspring of 3 months old. And when the time of her bearing approached, she began to be distressed with pains. And she cried aloud to the Lord and said, Pity me, O Lord, assist me. And she was not heard, and the mercy of God did not encircle her. And she said to herself, Who shall tell my Lord Adam? I implore you, ye luminaries of heaven, what time ye return to the east, bear a message to my Lord Adam. But in that hour Adam said, The complaint of Eve hath come to me. Perchance once more hath the serpents fought with her, and he went and found her in great distress. And Eve said, From the moment I saw thee, my Lord, my grief-laden soul was refreshed. And now entreat the Lord God on my behalf to hearken unto thee, and look upon me, and free me from my awful pains. And Adam entreated the Lord for Eve. And behold, there came 12 angels and 2 virtues, standing on the right and on the left of Eve. And Michael was standing on the right, and he stroked her on the face as far as to the breast, and said to Eve, Blessed are thou, Eve, for Adam's sake, since his prayers and intercessions are great. I have been sent that thou mightst receive our help. Rise up now and prepare thee to bear. And she bore a son, and he was shining, and at once the babe rose up, and ran and bore a blade of grass in his hands, and gave it to his mother, and his name was called Cain. And Adam carried Eve and the boy, and led them to the east. And the Lord God sent diverse seeds by Michael the archangel, and gave to Adam, and showed him how to work, and till the ground, that they might have fruit, by which they and all their generation might live. For thereafter Eve conceived and bare a son, whose name was Abel. And Cain and Abel used to stay together. And Eve said to Adam, My Lord, while I slept I saw a vision, as it were the blood of our son Abel in the hand of Cain, who was gulping it down in his mouth. Therefore I have sorrow. And Adam said, Alas, if Cain slew Abel, yet let us separate them from each other mutually, and let us make for each of them separate dwellings. And they made Cain a husbandman, but Abel they made a shepherd, in order that in this wise they might be mutually separated. And thereafter Cain slew Abel, but Adam was then 130 years old. But Abel was slain when he was 122 years. And thereafter Adam knew his wife, and begat a son, and called his name Seth. And Adam said to Eve, Behold, I have begotten a son, in place of Abel, whom Cain slew. And after Adam had begotten Seth, I lived 800 years, and begot 30 sons and 30 daughters, in all 63 children, and they were increased over the face of the earth in their nations. And Adam said to Seth, Hear, my son Seth, that I might relate to thee what I heard, and saw after your mother and I had been driven out of paradise. When we were at prayer, there came to me Michael the archangel, a messenger of God. And I saw a chariot like the wind of its wheels were fiery, and I was caught up into the paradise of righteousness. And I saw the Lord sitting, and his face was flaming fire that could not be endured. And many thousands of angels were on the right and the left of that chariot. When I saw this, I was confounded, and terror seized me, and I bowed myself down before God with my face to the earth. And God said to me, Behold, thou diest, since thou hast transgressed the commandment of God, for thou didst hearken rather to the voice of thy wife, whom I gave into thy power, that thou mightst hold her to thy will. Yet thou didst listen to her, and didst pass my words. And when I heard these words of God, I fell prone on the earth, and worshipped the Lord, and said, My Lord, all-powerful and merciful God, holy and righteous one, let not the name that is mindful of thy majesty be blotted out, but convert my soul, for I die, and my breath will go out of my mouth. Cast me not out from thy presence, me whom thou didst form of the clay of the earth. Do not banish from thy favour him whom thou didst nourish. And lo, a word concerning thee came upon me, and the Lord said to me, Since thy days were fashioned, thou hast been created with a love of knowledge. Therefore there shall not be taken from thy seed forever the right to serve me. And when I heard these words, I threw myself on the earth, and adored the Lord God, and said, Thou art the eternal and supreme God, and all creatures give thee honor and praise. Thou art the true light, gleaming above all lights, the living life, infinite, mighty power. To thee the spiritual powers give honor and praise. Thou workest on the race of men the abundance of thy mercy. After I had worshipped the Lord, straightway Michael, God's archangel, seized my hand and cast me out of the paradise of vision and of God's command. And Michael held a rod in his hand, and he touched the waters which were round about paradise, and they froze hard. And I went across, and Michael the archangel went across with me, and he led me back to the place whence he had caught me up. Hearken, my son Seth, even to the rest of the secrets and sacraments that shall be, which were revealed to me, when I had eaten of the tree of the knowledge, and knew the perceived what will come to pass in this age, what God intends to do to his creation of the race of men. The Lord will appear in a flame of fire, and from the mouth of his majesty he will give commandments and statutes. From his mouth will proceed a two-edged sword, and they will sanctify him in the house of the habitation of his majesty. And he will show them the marvelous place of his majesty, and then they will build a house to the Lord their God in the land which he shall prepare for them, and there they will transgress his statutes, and their sanctuary will be burnt up, and their land will be deserted, and they themselves will be dispersed, because they have kindled the wrath of God. And once more he will cause them to come back from their dispersion, and again they will build the house of God, and in the last time the house of God will be exalted greater than of old. And once more iniquity will exceed righteousness, and thereafter God will dwell with men on earth in visible form, and then righteousness will begin to shine. And the house of God will be honored in the age of their enemies, will no more be able to hurt the men who are believing in God, and God will stir up for himself a faithful people whom he shall save for eternity, and the impious shall be punished by God their King, the men who refuse to love his law. Heaven and earth, nights and days, and all creatures shall obey him and not overstep his commandment. Men shall not change their works, but they shall be changed from forsaking the law of the Lord. Therefore the Lord shall repel from himself the wicked, and the just shall shine like the sun in the sight of God, and in that time shall men be purified by water from their sins. But those who are unwilling to be purified by water shall be condemned.